Hey man, you've probably felt that shift before. One day she's warm, playful, affectionate, texting first, holding you close, speaking in that soft tone that made you feel like maybe this one was different. Then suddenly she changes. The messages get shorter, her laughter fades. Her eyes don't light up the same way. You can sense it before she ever says a word. Something invisible between you just dies. And no matter how much you try to fix it, explain it, or hold on, it keeps slipping away like water through your hands. That moment, when her warmth turns cold without warning, is one of the most confusing experiences a man can go through. But the truth behind it, the real reason she pulled away, isn't what you think. See, most men assume she pulled away because she lost interest, because she met someone else, or got bored, or decided you weren't enough. But that's not always true. What you're witnessing isn't random. It's emotional self-preservation. Women rarely detach without a build-up. That sudden coldness you felt was actually the final stage of a silent withdrawal that began long before you noticed. She'd been testing your presence long before she disappeared. She was quietly collecting data, not consciously, but emotionally. Every small disappointment, every moment you seemed distracted, every unspoken word, it all registered. And when she finally pulled away, it wasn't spontaneous. It was accumulated exhaustion, wearing the mask of indifference. But here's where it gets darker. Sometimes she didn't pull away because she lost love. She pulled away because she found fear. You got too close, too real, too stable. And for someone who's been hurt, that kind of consistency feels threatening. Emotional intimacy can feel like vulnerability, and vulnerability feels like danger. So instead of leaning in, she recoils. Instead of talking about it, she goes silent. She creates distance not because she wants to, but because her nervous system tells her she has to. She begins protecting herself from the very safety she craved. And that's the tragedy. She's not avoiding you. She's avoiding what she feels when she's with you. A woman's withdrawal often has nothing to do with your value. It has everything to do with her emotional bandwidth. When you became consistent, when you showed her a kind of peace she wasn't used to, it triggered something deep. To a woman who's lived in chaos, stability doesn't feel safe, it feels boring. To someone conditioned to equate love with drama, calm feels suspicious, so she starts overthinking. She misinterprets your silence as distance, your composure as disinterest, your independence as detachment, and instead of asking for clarity, she pulls away to regain control. Her retreat isn't rejection, it's an attempt to reassert emotional dominance over something that feels unfamiliar. And then there's the ego factor. Women don't like feeling like they're falling faster than you. If she senses that her emotions are deeper than yours, she'll pull back, not because she doesn't care, but because she's trying to level the playing field. Her silence becomes a test. Will you chase? Will you panic? Will you start over-explaining your worth? That's when most men fail. They rush in with reassurance, thinking they're saving the relationship, when in reality they're feeding the very dynamic that pushed her away. Because the more you chase her confusion, the more she feels validated in pulling away. She begins to feel power, not connection. This is the paradox men rarely understand. The more emotionally grounded you are, the more her instincts will test you. Women don't consciously do this, but they emotionally sense when a man is centered, and they'll unconsciously create tension to see if you can handle it. When she suddenly withdraws, it's often a subconscious experiment. Can you stay calm when she's cold? Can you remain composed when she's distant? Because your reaction tells her everything. If you panic, if you beg, if you spiral into insecurity, she'll know her emotions control you. But if you remain centered, patient, detached, focused, she'll feel your strength even in silence. Her pulling away was never about you being too much. It was about her realizing that you might be more emotionally mature than she is, and that's intimidating. You represent something she's not ready to face, a mirror that reflects her own emotional inconsistency. So she runs, not because you're unworthy, but because you've disrupted the narrative she was used to. You've shown her what real connection looks like, and real connection demands presence. That's what she's not ready for. It's not rejection, it's retreat. She's pulling back to the safety of emotional distance where she can feel in control again. But let's be honest, brother, sometimes she did lose interest, and that's okay too. Not every withdrawal is trauma-based. Some are simply the natural decline of attraction. Maybe the energy shifted. Maybe you revealed too much too soon. Maybe she saw parts of you she wasn't prepared to understand. The truth is, attraction is fragile and timing is everything. Women live emotionally. When the spark fades, logic rarely revives it. And that's where men make their biggest mistake. They try to talk her back into feeling something. You can't talk someone into emotional connection. You can only embody it. And if it's gone, the only dignified response is silence. What makes it hurt most is the lack of closure. You start replaying moments in your head, wondering what you missed, where it went wrong. But the truth is, you'll never find a clear answer, because she doesn't have one either. She didn't plan it, she just followed her feelings. And that's the difference between masculine and feminine energy. Men seek logic, women seek alignment. When the emotional current breaks, she can't force herself to stay. So she leaves, often without understanding why, and you're left searching for meaning in something that was never rational to begin with. You have to understand though, her pulling away isn't the tragedy. Your reaction to it determines everything. When you chase, you validate her withdrawal. When you beg, you lose your masculine frame. But when you stay calm, when you don't try to win her back, when you simply observe her absence with peace, that's when the power shifts. Not because you're playing games, but because you're rooted in truth. You know that what's meant for you can't be taken, and what's not meant for you doesn't need chasing. That kind of stillness confuses women who live in emotional volatility. It exposes who truly holds control, the one who stays centered when everything else shifts. See, when you stop trying to fix it, something profound happens. She starts to feel your detachment. That absence she thought would make you chase now creates anxiety in her. She begins to realize that the silence she initiated is no longer a tool of power. It's a mirror reflecting her own uncertainty. The energy flips. You're no longer the one waiting for her attention. She's now wondering why her absence doesn't bother you. That's when she starts revisiting memories, checking your social media, asking mutual friends about you. Not because she misses you, but because she can't understand how the game stopped working. This is where the modern dating dynamic reveals itself. Women are used to men being emotionally reactive. They've learned to equate attention with affection and control with safety. When a man doesn't react, it unsettles them. It forces them to confront their own emotional instability. So they'll often reappear, subtly, innocently, under the guise of just checking in. But you'll know what it really is. It's not connection, it's curiosity. She wants to see if she still matters. And your job isn't to punish her or play cold. It's to remain detached. Because your silence isn't revenge, it's revelation. The truth about why she pulled away is rarely about you being not enough. It's often about her realizing she can't keep you small. A masculine man who's grounded, emotionally intelligent, and self-assured triggers something primal in women. It challenges them to rise, to meet that stability, to evolve beyond manipulation. But not everyone is ready for that kind of connection, so they retreat. Not because they don't see your value, but because they're not ready to meet it. And you can't force readiness. Love without emotional maturity always collapses under its own weight. You'll know you've grown when her silence no longer creates chaos inside you, when her distance doesn't make you question your worth, but reaffirms your strength. That's emotional mastery. You stop waiting for closure because you become closure. You realize her pulling away didn't take anything from you. It revealed what was never solid to begin with. You don't need to rebuild it. You simply move on, knowing that peace is the highest form of power. Because the man who can walk away without resentment is the one who wins every time. Sometimes, her absence is the universe's protection disguised as rejection. Maybe she pulled away to save you from months of slow emotional erosion. Maybe she left so you could finally stop trying to be understood by people who only listen to their feelings. Maybe her distance was the space you needed to rediscover your focus, your discipline, your masculinity. Because as painful as it feels, her silence gave you something she never could: solitude. And solitude is where men transform. It's where boys become leaders, where love turns into wisdom. Once you stop reacting and start reflecting, you begin to see patterns. You realize that her withdrawal wasn't the first. It was just the one that woke you up. Every time you ignored your intuition, every time you overinvested, every time you lowered your standards to keep someone interested, it led here. And that's the gift of loss. It forces you to see the parts of yourself that still seek validation. It reminds you that your peace is sacred. It teaches you that you never lose someone who's aligned with your purpose. You only lose distractions that delayed your growth. When you evolve through that silence, you stop chasing women and start attracting peace. Your presence changes. You stop needing to be chosen. You stop trying to prove your worth. And ironically, that's when they come back. Because nothing attracts the feminine more than masculine stillness. She feels it, the emotional gravity of a man who doesn't chase. It reminds her of something ancient, something primal, a strength that doesn't need validation. She'll test it, she'll question it, but deep down, she'll respect it, because emotional control is the rarest energy in modern men, and once you embody it, you never go unnoticed again. Eventually, you'll stop thinking about her altogether, not because you forgot her, but because you outgrew the version of yourself that needed her. You'll remember her not with anger, but with gratitude, because she was your mirror. She reflected your insecurities, your impatience, your emotional dependency. And through her silence, you found yourself. You learned that love without respect is addiction, that attention without effort is manipulation, that peace without solitude is impossible. What she took away, she unknowingly replaced with strength. She'll think about you though, often, because the man she left behind no longer exists, and the one you became no longer needs her. That paradox drives her crazy. You see, the feminine energy seeks reflection through connection. When that connection is lost, she looks outward, but when the man she once knew evolves into his higher self, she feels that loss spiritually. It's not regret, it's realization. She'll remember your patience, your kindness, your loyalty, all the things she once took for granted, and those memories will echo louder the quieter you remain. And then one day, you'll cross paths again, maybe online, maybe in person. She'll notice the way you carry yourself, the calm in your eyes, the certainty in your presence. She'll try to read you, to find some trace of the man she knew, but she won't, because you've replaced the old version with something she can't decode: discipline, confidence, and serenity. She'll smile, maybe mention how different you seem, but what she's really saying is, you've become untouchable. And in that moment, you'll realize she didn't break you, she built the version of you she was never ready to meet. This is the part of the story most men never reach, where you no longer chase answers, you simply understand patterns, where you stop labeling what happened as good or bad and start seeing it as necessary. You understand that love isn't meant to complete you, it's meant to reveal you. Every heartbreak is an unveiling, every disappointment a redirection. You stop seeing her pulling away as an ending and start seeing it as initiation into your highest self. Because sometimes the greatest lesson a woman can give you isn't her love, but her absence. When you finally internalize that truth, you become free. You no longer fear loss, because you know loss is never personal, it's purposeful. You don't resent her for leaving. You thank her for showing you where you still attached your worth to someone else's approval. You stop wishing she'd stayed and start realizing you were always meant to walk alone for a while. Because solitude doesn't isolate strong men, it shapes them. It's where clarity replaces confusion and where purpose replaces pain. As you keep walking your path, women will sense the change in you. They'll feel the grounded confidence that doesn't demand attention but commands it naturally. You'll notice how effortlessly you attract people now, not because you're trying, but because your energy has become clean. You're no longer carrying fear, resentment, or anxiety. You've become the embodiment of calm masculinity, the kind that no longer chases emotion, but holds it. That energy doesn't just attract women, it attracts life itself. And when you look back on her someday, you won't feel bitterness, you'll feel gratitude. Because she wasn't the one that got away, she was the one that showed you the way. Her pulling away was never rejection, it was revelation. It revealed who you were before the pain and who you were meant to become after it. Without her withdrawal, you might have never awakened to your own strength. You might have never realized that love isn't about possession, it's about awareness, and awareness, once gained, never fades. So the next time someone suddenly distances themselves, don't panic, don't chase, don't explain. Just observe, let the silence unfold, because silence is where truth reveals itself. If she returns, it'll be alignment. If she doesn't, it's protection. Either way, you win. Because the real power was never in keeping her, it was in never losing yourself again. And once you learn that, brother, no one's absence will ever break you again.